The Roseville Manor
by
Juliana,
Cassie,
and Zoe.
Chapter 1. Once upon a medieval time there lived a De Laurentiis family. Kenneth De Laurentiis is the lord of the Roseville Manor with Jessica De Laurentiis as his lady. Jessica soon gave birth to twins, Charles and Charlotte. Charles and Charlotte were not raised together since they were boy and girl. Charlotte was sent away to be raised by one of Jessica's female attendants in a convent where she would be taught the ways of womanhood and receive an education. Charles stayed on the manor where he would train to become a knight. At the age of 7, Charles became a page for his father, and when he turned 14, he became a squire. Finally, at the age of 21, Charles was declared an official knight. He performed his knightly duties very well. He was brave in battle and always followed the code of chivalry. One day during the Crusades, Charles was fighting the Muslim Turks to retake the Holy Land when he was unhorsed. Charles came crashing to the ground and was killed. Charles' squire at the time, Sebastian, rushed back to Kenneth and Jessica to bear the bad news that Charles was dead. Kenneth, upon hearing the news, was so shocked he had a heart attack on the spot. The doctor did not arrive in time, and Kenneth died as well. Jessica was in awe. She had lost her husband and her son, and soon she would lose the manor as well, since there was no male to run it. The only thing Jessica could think of was Charlotte. Jessica then told Sebastian to bring Charlotte to her from the convent.
Chapter 2.
Puzzled by Jessica's demand, Sebastian asked, "Why do you need Charlotte?" "Don't ask any questions," says Jessica. "Just do as I say and tell no one." Sebastian set off to get Charlotte. Jessica had just finished her afternoon prayer session and was about to lay down when she heard horses' hooves galloping up to her doorstep. Sebastian stepped out of the carriage. They were followed by a ravishingly glowing young lady. Jessica gasped at the sight of her daughter. She hadn't seen Charlotte in years. Charlotte embraced her mother and shed a few joyful tears. Charlotte soon asked, "Where is Father and Charles?" Jessica started to weep. She explained to Charlotte that Charles had a freak accident while riding his horse during a battle, and how her father had suffered a heart attack when he heard the news about Charles. Charlotte's joyful tears soon turned to sad ones, as if the entire world and all its beauty had come to an end. But little did she know that her world would become worse. Jessica dismissed Sebastian and told them to keep quiet. Jessica then explained the situation to Charlotte. Because Kenneth also was Lord, who is now dead, the Lord of the Manor position was supposed to be passed to Charles. But obviously that's not the case anymore. Charles was the only living male heir that Jessica had. Without an heir to take the Lord position, Jessica would lose all her money, title, and house. Jessica told Charlotte that she was going to tell people Kenneth had died, but not Charles. Charlotte says, Mother, Charles is dead." Jessica then says to Charlotte, "Charles won't be dead if you simply cooperate."
Chapter 3. Charlotte says, "Anything for you, Mother." Jessica then says, "Charlotte, nobody knows who you are, so I need you to become Charles. Nobody will notice you are missing, and you look alike since you are twins. If you don't do this, we won't have our title and no money to live off of." "What?" says Charlotte. "Charlotte, you will now and forever be Charles De Laurentiis. Charlotte no longer exists. You will be the lord of the manor." Charlotte says, "And why would I ever do that for you?" "Because if not, I'll make you marry that ugly wart of a prince from the manor upstate. He's desperately looking for a wife, and I have a lot of connections." Charlotte yells, "Ew, no, definitely not. Fine, I'll do it."
Chapter 4. Soon enough, Charlotte's transformation into Charles begins. Charlotte asks her mother if her only true friend, Sarah Harvey, could come to the house and help Charlotte transform, since she is a seamstress. Jessica denies her request. Charlotte then says, "But Mother, she is the best seamstress in our convent. She can get me new clothes and help cut my hair." Jessica then replies, "Okay, she might be to our advantage." After receiving the message, Sarah arrived at the Roseville Manor. So happy to see her friend, Charlotte jumped into Sarah's arms. Sarah gets right to work. Charlotte's luscious locks fall to the ground as Sarah's cutting. Sarah sewed coats, pants, and stockings, and showed Charlotte how to bind her breasts. Ra then gave her 2 pairs of shoes that she had bought from a guild of shoemakers. Sarah took away all of her beauty products and everything that tied her to her old life. Charlotte took a long look in the mirror at herself. She didn't feel like a lord, nevertheless someone who had power over all the lower ranks. This is the last day Charlotte De Laurentiis was ever accounted for.
Charlotte, or should I say Charles, never realized how hard becoming a man could actually be. Everyone knew how Kenneth was dead and how Charles was supposed to be the new lord. Charlotte struggles with completing her lordly task. She had to train soldiers for battle, go to battle herself, collect taxes, and oversee the farmlands. Charlotte tried to make new friends in her new environment, but it wasn't going too well. Charlotte kept introducing herself as, "Hi, I'm Charlotte Charles." She also wasn't good at riding horses because she didn't have much practice. During battles, she was skittish and afraid, but most people thought Charles was like this because he had just lost his father, so no one suspected a thing. One day, Charles was out collecting taxes from peasants and serfs. She stumbled upon Darren Hastings and his little peasant hut. She knocked on the door, and a deep voice called out, "1 minute." Charlotte was prepared to collect taxes from Mr. Hastings, but when he opened the door, she looked in his eyes and forgot why she was there. Chapter 6.
Charlotte continued to stare at Darren. She couldn't take her eyes off him until he said, "What are you staring at?" Suddenly, Charlotte realized that she was now Charles, and that she could never fall in love. Embarrassed from staring, Charlotte collected the taxes and was on her way. Once Charlotte finished collecting the taxes, she rushed home. She told Sarah about Darren. Even though he was only a peasant who could never be worthy of a lord's love, Charlotte wanted him. Sarah told Charlotte that she shouldn't see Darren anymore. Charlotte didn't know why she said that, but she thought maybe it was jealousy. So Charlotte stops the conversation and goes to bed. The next morning is Sunday, the day of rest. Charlotte, aka Charles, gets dressed and is ready to attend the church service. She took a seat in a pew and the priest began his sermon. Later, before leaving the church, Charlotte spotted Darren. She rushed over to say hi. Darren said, "No offense, Lord, but we've really never talked, and suddenly we are." Charlotte replied, "I want to be friends, that's all." "You should stop by my house later." Darren replied, "Yeah, sure." When Charlotte told Sarah that Darren was coming over, Sarah told her that that was a horrible idea. Charlotte shouldn't be interacting with a peasant. Charlotte could tell Sarah was jealous. When Darren came over, they simply talked. They talked about the food he eats, the home he lives in, and his work in the fields. Darren said that he eats the food that he grows in contrast to the meal that Charlotte made him. Darren also said that he lived in a home dirt floor with one room and works sunrise to sunset. He said life as a peasant is hard, but not as a serf. They have it way worse. Darren soon left and walked out the door. Outside, a very jealous Sarah was waiting for him. She batted her eyelashes and gave him a goodbye kiss on the cheek. Charlotte had seen everything.
Chapter 7. The next day, Sarah goes to see Darren once again. As they meet, they lock lips. All Sarah wants is Darren to herself. So she decides to exploit Charlotte. Sarah says Charlotte is Charles's real name because Charles isn't who he says he is. For starters, he is a she and her name is Charlotte. Charles died in a horseback riding accident the same day Kenneth de Laurentiis had a heart attack. Lady de Laurentiis made Charlotte pretend to be her because they would lose the manor, the family title, and fortune. Darren was shocked by this news. Sarah suggested that they take the horse and take a ride to the cathedral to drop off an anonymous letter revealing Charles's true identity. By doing this, Charlotte would face real criminal charges and Sarah would have Darren all to herself, and Sarah and Darren did just that. Now the church knows about Charles's secret. A few days later, archbishops, the advisors to the Pope, showed up at Charlotte's house with a warrant for her arrest.
Chapter 8. Jessica runs screaming after Charlotte, yelling, "What's going on? You can't do this to him. He's innocent." Sarah and Darren are standing outside the doorway with a smirking smile on their faces. The archbishops take Charlotte away to jail. Jessica drags Sarah into the home in private. "How could you do this to Sarah?" "Charlotte and I trusted you." "Oh, please, Jessica, like you ever had a care in the world about Charlotte. If the Pope finds out Charles is actually a girl, we will be excommunicated for committing treason, and if we're going down, you're coming down with us." For a whole week Charlotte was held in a cell at the bottom of the king's castle awaiting her trial. During this week Sarah met a blacksmith, Toby, and she cheated on Darren with him. It turned out that Jessica's female attendant was Toby's mother, and Jessica told Darren about Sarah cheating on him. Darren was in a rage, and he immediately broke things off with Sarah and realized what had been under his nose the whole time. He had feelings for Charlotte. The next day Charlotte's trial began. The king announced that Charlotte will be facing excommunication and possibly death for deceiving the whole manor and putting her family name to shame. By the end of the trial, the De Laurentiis family lost the manor and all their money. Charlotte was exposed and was excommunicated or banned from the church. Outside the cathedral, Darren was waiting for Charlotte and forgave her for pretending to be Charles. Charlotte had no reason to stay in the Roseville manor, and her and Darren left the manor. They lived happily ever after.
The end.